Craving the perfect holiday snack? Check out Farmer Bill's Biltong. Think beef jerky, but better. No sugar, no preservatives, just pure animal protein goodness. Crafted from premium grass-fed beef or bison and air-dried to perfection, Farmer Bill's Biltong is nutrient-packed, energy-dense, and perfect for an on-the-go treat or a standout snack for your next party. My favorite is the original bison, but the other flavors like the original beef, smokehouse, and spicy chili had me second-guessing that choice more than once. Visit FarmerBillsProvisions.com to grab a 1-pound slab or a variety pack and use code BIZBIT10 for 10% off. Farmer Bill's Biltong, don't be the 2-liter guy at this year's Christmas party.
It was about 98% of the people that received Bitcoin. It was their first time ever handling or understanding like, oh, I have Bitcoin, which is super impactful because now you can see how easy it is. Or you can just cash it out and see like, oh, that's how you cash it out. Like, okay. So it was cool to see. I'm going up to people and with a hat, and I'm like, hey, send me $5 of the Bitcoin you just got, and I'll give you this hat. So I'll show them how to do it. They send me the $5, and then I give them the hat. But it's just a cool way of showing like this is how you can kind of do commerce now. So super cool, and it's super exciting to see, and I think it's needed.
Welcome to the Business Bitcoinization Show, the show dedicated to helping you enrich your life and grow your business with Bitcoin, the hardest money on planet Earth. I'm your host, Josh Friedemann, and our guest today is Yusuf Abdul-Ali, who's the founder of the Bitcoin Classic, the first ever touring basketball tournament rewarding players in Bitcoin. The TBC mission is to provide high-level basketball tournaments focused on Bitcoin adoption all throughout the United States. I think you're going to enjoy this interview today, but before we get to it, we have this week's Bitcoin Meetup Spotlight, and this week it's Rocket City Bitcoin. Huntsville, Alabama surpassed Birmingham as the largest city in the state and has been named one of the best places to live in the United States by U.S. News and World Report. The city's famous for rocketry, including the Saturn boosters to send astronauts to, you guessed it, the moon. The local Bitcoin meetup has monthly gatherings and is on a parabolic trajectory. Since starting, they've covered topics ranging from basic transactions to node operations and custody considerations. Beginners and experts alike are welcome aboard. The countdown to self-sovereignty has begun. You can find them on Twitter at HuntsvilleBTC. And if you're not in Huntsville but want to find a Bitcoin meetup near you, I encourage you to download the Oshi app where you'll be able to do just that. Now, we're going to get to our interview with Yusuf right after this. Business owners, unlock the benefits Bitcoin has to offer your business with the Bitcoin for Business Quick Start Guide. This 27-page guide highlights the 6 ways you can grow your business with Bitcoin. Check it out in the show notes. Yusuf, welcome to the podcast.
Appreciate you. Thanks for having me. And that was a good intro. Summed it up right there. So
I appreciate it. Well, I like to start off every single interview with a few questions that help us to get to know you a little bit better and give us some insight for our own lives. Are you ready for these?
For sure. Let's do it.
When and how did you first learn about Bitcoin?
First heard about Bitcoin 2017, I want to say. Didn't think anything of it. 2020, the beginning of 2020, is when I first bought Bitcoin. And that's when I kind of did all my research. And I was introduced to it through a good friend, Jules. His name is Jules Hirschhorn. He's a pilot. He's a data engineer. And he's someone who is really not tight with his money, but in terms of telling you what to do with your money. He's not someone that kind of goes out there and tells you, do this, do this. So when he did come to me, it was like, hey, listen, any discretionary funds that you have, like put them in Bitcoin right now. And, me being someone who's, I'm going to do my research. So I started researching Bitcoin and anything from, the Bitcoin Standard to Isaiah Jackson's book. Can't think of the name right now, but then just YouTube. So I just went down, the hole, and I'm like, you know what? I like this. I think it's going to play a major role in the human society at some point. So I was like, you know what? Let me go in and jump in. And I did. That was a good point to get in when it kind of reversed back and it was pretty low. So 2020 is when I first bought, and I've been buying ever since.
Next question is this: what's an insight or fact about Bitcoin that you wish everyone understood?
I think it's, well, in my lane, in the basketball lane, um, it's a lot of education. Like they don't, players, coaches, the spectators don't have really an idea of what it is. So one of the main things is people think that someone owns it, like it's a company. So they ask like, how did you get connected with Bitcoin? Like, why would they sponsor you? And I have to tell them like, listen, like Bitcoin is a currency, it's an investment, it's no one owns it. You know what I mean? It's a currency. So that's one of the things that I kind of have to preach to people that participate and show up to my tournaments. Um, but overall, I think it's however the important however you see Bitcoin. There's so many different ways you can invest in it, which I do. You can use it as a currency, which I do. I'm not one that just kind of holds. I'll pay people just to kind of get them introduced to it. Um, so I do that, and then I use it as a equity loan to actually start the Bitcoin Classic. So that's one of the things that I did where when I bought it in 2020, the value of it went up. So I was able to, at the time, take out a loan, start the Bitcoin Classic, raise some funds with the Bitcoin Classic and pay that loan back. So there's, a plethora of ways you can use it. But, what I tell people just kind of getting in is just, hey, listen, just get a little bit and then save it and then do your research after you buy a little bit of it. But again, it's multifaceted, man.
Absolutely. So, what is the Bitcoin resource that you most recommend to other people?
I like now the Bitcoin source, Dowdo. He does a good job of breaking down high level, low level, mid level, beginners, really experienced Bitcoin adopters. So I like Dowdo. YouTube is a good one. I like YouTube. Cash App. If you kind of go and dig into like their platform, Cash App's platform, they have a good kind of like onboarding for beginners, just kind of explaining what it is. And then there's a number of books out there, and I just say kind of go start early. Just put in Bitcoin for Dummies so you can start getting the basics, and then you can kind of branch up into those bigger ones, like the Bitcoin Standard, all those type of books.
Beyond Bitcoin, what is a resource, tool, or idea that's been helpful to you or your work at the Bitcoin Classic recently?
Chat GPT.
Yeah. How are you using it?
I use it in a number of ways. I use it to create waivers for my tournaments, for the players, my partnerships that I'm creating. I use it to kind of create these contracts. What else? I use it to create marketing plans. I use it a number of ways. Sometimes I use it to draft an email. So it just allows me to kind of streamline things and not have to do all the details or go pay a third party to do some things where it's me just kind of cleaning it up. So Chat GPT I got nothing but good things about that, man.
I hear you. So we have now our final, what we call our arbitrary but insightful question, and it's this: as a general life principle, is it better to ask why or why not?
Why? And I say that because, and this is just me, like I've always been curious, like kind of growing up. Um, and mainly it's because I didn't my father passed away when I was young, so it's like you kind of see yourself searching for things when kind of fatherless in the inner city community. You always kind of searching for what's right, what crowd is doing this, and you're very curious, and you can get caught up in a lot of things. So I've always kind of lived my life on that curious side, like why is that, why are they doing that, why is
Hmm.
that this way, why is this, and it forces me to kind of go and do my own research. um and that's something that I still live by to this day. It's like just be curious, figure out your own, figure it out yourself, do your own research, kind of figure out why people are doing things and why things are moving forward. So I would say why.
Meet Linkster, your premier Bitcoin-focused advisor. Linkster caters to businesses, institutions, family offices, and high-net-worth individuals. They merge your unique financial goals and needs with Linkster's Bitcoin expertise to craft your own sustainable plan to preserve and grow the value of your hard-earned profits and retained earnings. At Linkster, it's not just advice, it's tailored execution. Connect directly with the founder by visiting linkster.com. That's LYNCSTER.com. Linkster. Secure your future with Bitcoin. Today's episode of Business Bitcoinization is proudly brought to you by Velis Commerce, where the future of business technology meets Bitcoin. As we journey through the era of Bitcoin and its transformational impact on businesses, there's one name that stands out: Velis Commerce. Whether you're looking to build a cutting-edge website, a seamless mobile app, or custom software, Velis is your go-to team. They've been diving deep into the world of Bitcoin since 2014, making them one of the most experienced groups for integrating Bitcoin and Lightning payments into a variety of digital platforms. But here's what truly sets them apart. Velis Commerce doesn't just build. They bring a wealth of knowledge to ensure your project's success from day one. Their team understands the nuances of Bitcoin, ensuring that your business stays ahead of the curve. And for all business Bitcoinization listeners out there, Velis Commerce is offering a free consultation to kickstart your project the right way. So if you're ready to future-proof your business in the coming age of hyper-Bitcoinization, head over to veliscommerce.com or reach out on Twitter at veliscommerce. Let's make sure your business thrives in the Bitcoin era. I think that's a good transition to the main portion of the interview. Today, we're talking about the Bitcoin Classic, and probably the best question to start off with is why? Why did you start the Bitcoin Classic, and what's your vision for it as you continue to grow?
Yeah, for sure. That's a good question. Well, I'm a basketball junkie. Started playing when I was 6. Played high school, played college, got a scholarship. Um, didn't try to go pro. I ended up coaching when I got out of college, coaching and working. And then I went on to coach college basketball. And then once I had my daughter, I had to scale back. So I've always been a junkie, planning events, one-on-one basketball events for my city. I would plan those events and then kind of give back the profits and give scholarships to kids in the local community. So I've always kind of used basketball as a way to be creative and a way to just kind of, it's my passion. So just trying to keep it going. And once I learned about Bitcoin, I was like, you know what? Nobody's doing this. Nobody probably would do this. Let me see if I can kind of connect the two. Because I know people just aren't going to come to Bitcoin and want to learn. Um, they kind of see it as like a meme stock or a one of the hot coins at the time. They're just looking at the price. So I was like, you know what? How can we do it in a way where we can kind of disguise that education in something? So that's why I kind of combined the basketball and Bitcoin piece. And it's selfishly, it's my two passions. Like I'm passionate about basketball, and then I'm also passionate about Bitcoin and seeing where it can go in the future, and who adopts it first and how people can benefit it in more ways than they are now. So it's like an infusion of two passions, really, and that's why I kind of pushed it and I'm running with it now.
So I feel like the best way to talk about it would probably be speaking in terms of the upcoming Bitcoin Classic in Atlanta at the end of June. Could you share with us about how the tournament's laid out, maybe how you even get teams to sign up? Like, is the Bitcoin piece attractive to people? Does it give people pause? And then, what does it look like once you get on the ground in Atlanta?
So just to answer the question first, it's definitely harder with the Bitcoin in the title. That's the number one thing, especially when you're trying to, you're getting these teams and they have to pay to enter the tournament. So they pay a fee, which is fiat, and a lot of them don't want to give up their money and get Bitcoin back. So you got to kind of onboard the coaches or the GMs, the people that's putting these teams in, before you kind of even get them to sign up. Because a lot of them have no idea how they're going to receive the Bitcoin. Um, So that's a process in itself. Just getting teams. It's a lot of legwork. It's a lot of a lot of back and forth with them to try to get them to trust the Bitcoin Classic and to trust that we're going to do our end of providing them. All right, this is how you get Bitcoin. This is how you can convert it. This is how you can save it. This is how you can get it off of um, a hot wallet, cold wallet. So we do all that stuff leading up and then during and some after. But in terms of how Atlanta kind of plays, we do 8 teams. We find 8 teams. For Atlanta, we have 4 teams coming in. We have one from Alabama, one from Boston, one from Connecticut slash Springfield, Mass. And then we also have another team from like Washington, DMV area. And then the other 4 teams are from that Atlanta area. So the fact that we're kind of bringing these other states and getting these other places involved is huge because it just grows the footprint of the Bitcoin Classic. But it's also something that is not done that often where you're getting these adult teams to kind of come together and compete against each other. So it's real unique that way. So we get 8 teams. We do a single elimination tournament.
Yeah.
So you lose, you're done. It's spread out over 2 days. And mixed in between that, for the community, we have a 3-point contest, we have challenges, we have Bitcoin giveaways, we have merch, we have T-shirts, we have Bitcoin educators that come and just talk about their stories to the crowd, just talking about how they got into Bitcoin and what the value is bringing them. What else do we do? We have like live performances, so hip hop, R&B, whatever the case may be. Come down. We have a DJ, so it's kind of an experience, and then all centered around Bitcoin, which is pretty cool and it's pretty unique. And in Atlanta, it's actually thanks to our partner Cash App, they're providing some resources that I think is going to be the biggest one so far. It's we got a lot of performers and a lot of people that I couldn't reach that they could. So super thankful for them. And yeah, Atlanta's going to be big, man. I feel like it's going to be a kickoff to next year, which is going to be even bigger and better. So excited, super excited.
That's awesome. I feel like Cash App is the perfect sponsor here. Like people are already using it, they already have it, and they're a Bitcoin, maybe not a Bitcoin first, but definitely a Bitcoin only company. So that's huge. Do you have any other sponsors?
Yeah, so we came up with a deal where they wanted to be the only sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
So they're our sole sponsor. Like super thankful for that. But we do have some team sponsors that sponsor the actual teams that are putting the actual players together. So we have 3 of those. Buried Souls out of Connecticut. They're sponsoring a team from. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a team from California coming as well.
Okay.
So they're sponsoring a team from California. There's a Dolo's Pizza Shop. They're sponsoring a team in Atlanta. So we get like that local community, those small, mid-sized businesses that kind of want to be a part, just throw their name on something to be a part. So super grateful for them as well.
That's awesome. Do you have any teams that return who have played in the Bitcoin Classic before, or do you just have basically bring 8 teams together for the first time and it's kind of like their only Bitcoin Classic that they compete in?
No, that's the issue right now is the teams that do play, they want to come back. And
too much success.
For this one, no, it's this because it's a well-run tournament, and it's like they see like they only have to play 3 games. Usually when they're going to these weekend money tournaments, they're paying 8-9 games in a weekend, which is kind of crazy. So they like the idea of what we're doing and they like the basketball piece of it. And so we have 3 teams that are returners, and then we have 5 new teams.
That's super cool. And what do the teams get? Does the first place team take the whole Bitcoin bag, or is it dispersed among like the top 3 teams? How do you figure that out?
So we do winner takes all.
Okay.
So winner takes all. So this one in Atlanta is going to be $30,000 worth of Bitcoin.
Wow.
So right now they're getting the full Bitcoin and some.
Yeah, that's huge. So with that, then I guess it just depends on the team, but does the team take it, divide it up among the players? Does it go back into the team for them to like develop, or how is it usually spread out?
So we do, whoever wins, we get the GM or coach to give us all their Catch App IDs and gives us a number of how much each player gets and how much he gets. And then we just disperse it right through Cash App in Bitcoin Lightning. So it's actually, well, some of them have Bitcoin, some of them don't. But between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Lightning, we disperse it right to them through Cash App.
What has the response been for the locations you previously had the Bitcoin Classic? Have you gotten feedback from the community after the event? Have you been able to see what adoption looks like?
It's hard to track. I would say this last year at Rucker Park, where we did it in New York City, the feedback that we got back from them, that was like that was probably the most impactful. Where between, because we do it in a cool way, and Cash App kind of allows this, is where we have these QR codes throughout the court. So at certain times, we'll say the QR codes are active. You can kind of scan and see what you get, and then we'll kind of disperse Bitcoin to all these to these people. And then on the back end, you can see how many of them had Bitcoin on the front end, or how many of them just signed up for it. It was their first time dealing with it. So, it was about 98% of the people that received Bitcoin. It was their first time ever. This was their first time ever handling or understanding, like, oh, I have Bitcoin. Which is super impactful, because now you can see how easy it is, how easy it is to get.
Wow.
You can watch it, and or you can just cash it out and see, like, oh, that's how you cash it out. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So it was cool to see. It was really cool to see, people. I'm going up to people and with a hat, and I'm like, hey, send me $5 of the Bitcoin you just got, and I'll give you this
Mhm.
hat. So I'll show them how to do it. They send me the five, and then I give them the hat. But it's just a cool way of showing, like, this is how you can kind of do commerce now. So super cool, and it's super exciting to see, and I think it's needed for the Bitcoin space. Just having being on the grounds with it. We're on the grounds with boots on the ground, just kind of doing these transactions. But it's also good, and it it's fun to do.
So you may or may not be willing to share this at this point in time, but you said that next year is going to be even bigger. Can you share some of the vision that you have for the future of the Bitcoin Classic, or is it something that you have to keep under wraps for a while still?
I don't know about location, but the one that I can't say the location now, but I'm hoping it kind of works out because it's an iconic court. But bigger vision is, so there's a tournament called the basketball tournament, TBT, and they give out $1 million worth of Bitcoin. I mean, $1 million to their winner. So I wanna figure out a way where I can compete their winner versus the TBC's winner. I put up 100,000 worth of Bitcoin. I pull that Bitcoin between whoever wants to kind of help out and do that, and we have them put up $100,000, and then we kind of do like a Bitcoin versus money championship, winner takes all.
Hmm.
So I think that's, trying to do stuff like that just on a bigger platform, because they have ESPN, they have Chick-fil-A, they have Puma, they have a lot of these big names, and it's like, all right, let's mix it up a little bit. Let's mix it up. Let's get disruptive and try to compete with them, compete with their champions, and do a Bitcoin versus money. I just think it would be cool, and it'd be a good way to get kind of more Bitcoin education to the masses.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's on the plate. I'm slowly trying to build that out now.
Hmm. I love the vision. So before we finish up today, eventually in a few minutes, I want to get your final thoughts, but I also want to get your thoughts on the NBA Finals. I'm assuming you have some. Did the playoffs go how you wanted? Do you have any preference for who you think will win the finals, or do you have a team you're really rooting for at this point in time? Because this is the first game. One's going to happen before this goes live, and I'm just curious to know what your thoughts are. So we have you on record before the games ever start.
First off, I'm a Celtics fan, so
Oof.
that loss last night was tough. Tatum getting injured first minute, that was tough to see. But shout out to the Heat. They played the competitive team. Jimmy Butler's competitive. But going into the finals, I like Joker. I also like Jimmy Butler, but they just beat us. So I'm going with Denver. And game one, I say Joker triple double, 30, 10, and 10, 30, 12, and 12. And
Mm,
they win by about 5, 6 points. I can see them kind of taking it. I think Denver takes it. Um, just a bigger team.
yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Heat's been, they've been impressing people and kind of surprising people along the way. But I feel like that's the majority opinion. Denver is likely going to win. I'm not a huge, I don't follow the NBA throughout the year, but I was talking with some people last night, 2 nights ago. It is really fun to, whatever sport it is, to be at the end of the season and see all of the excitement, everything's going into this. I feel like, especially with the NBA, this might be an incorrect bias, but I feel like they just kind of mess around until the playoffs and they get serious. But the playoffs are usually really exciting. And I'm guessing that these finals will be pretty good as well, even though they're not the teams that everyone expected in the finals.
No, I agree with you. I think people definitely coast to the playoffs. You can see it in the stats. You can see it in kind of who rises and who drops off. So I agree with you there. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I like Joker. I think the international piece to it is good for the NBA. You got Joker there. You got Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray's from Canada, so I think it's a big draw. Out, maybe not in the U.S., but outside and internationally, I think it's right up what the NBA wants. To be honest with you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, speaking of international, one thing I really appreciate about what you're doing with the Bitcoin Classic is that you are bringing Bitcoin to United States sports. I know that you have, the Perth Heat in Australia, you have Real Bedford in England, and there's not, at least to my knowledge, and I feel like I'm pretty aware of what's happening in the space, there's not a whole lot as far as Bitcoin and sport in the US. So I appreciate what you're doing here, bringing Bitcoin to basketball and then teaming with Cash App. That's just great. Any final thoughts before we finish up today's interview?
Final thoughts is I didn't touch on it, but another piece to the Bitcoin Classic is we're partnering with AAU programs in high schools throughout the U.S. We actually got our first partnership with New Heights out of New York City. So they have about like 28 teams. They have over 100 players that go Division One. Really, really, really well organized and well run organization. And I think they're about, I think they are top 15 or top 10 in the US for AAU programs, which is sponsored by Nike. So we partner with them to kind of be like their Bitcoin financial literacy partners. So we're actually going to be doing something with them on June 3rd and 4th in New York City, where we're going to kind of onboard their parents and their players, just kind of giving them the basics of Bitcoin and also other financial tools that they can use. But mainly Bitcoin is going to be a staple there and just giving them the foundation of what it is. So super excited for that. And that's another piece to the Bitcoin Classic and how we plan on giving back in the future. So definitely didn't want to miss that.
Well, where can people go to find out more about you and the Bitcoin Classic if people want to stay up on what y'all are doing and especially kind of follow along with the Atlanta tournament happening in June?
For sure. You can go to thebitcoinclassic.com or on Instagram, the Bitcoin Classic, and then Twitter as well. If you go there, it's the Bitcoin Classic. And that's everything, man. That's our socials and the website. So you can go there, connect with us, DM us if you want to, kind of get involved, or if you have ideas. We're open to partnering. We're open to listening to other ideas and ways to make this better. So feel free to hit us up.
Great. Well, Yusuf, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, friends, it's a wrap. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Business Bitcoinization Show. If you want to reach out to either me or Yusuf, you can find our links down in the show notes. And I encourage you to follow along with what the Bitcoin Classic is doing as well. As always, keep building, keep growing, and until next time, keep living and leading well. If you're a regular listener of the podcast, thank you. If you want to take a further step in your support for the show, you can help us grow by listening on Fountain, a value-for-value podcast app on iOS or Android. If you hear something you like that you disagree with or anything else, you can share it by sending some sats and adding a comment with your thoughts. Some of you have already done this, and I appreciate it. I'm going to begin reading your boosts on upcoming episodes, so if you have some insight or value to add, let the people know. Getting started with Fountain is easy. You can add Bitcoin to your Fountain wallet by using your fiat accounts or any Lightning wallet. And one of my favorite features is that once you're using the app, you can earn sats just by listening on Fountain. Check out the link in the show notes to get started with Fountain today.